It's kind of incomprehensible that this happened.
Police say a man broke into a Utah house and set it on fire with people inside.
I don't know why you would do that to a stranger's home.
Tonight, questions about the random attack that left neighbors stunned.
Tracking some storms across Utah and dangerous heat, how you can stay safe.
Keeping cool and staying hydrated is nearly impossible for our most vulnerable. I'll show you how Volunteers of America is helping Salt Lake City's unsheltered in the extreme heat.
Revealing new testimony tonight about what happened before and during the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Plus, an appearance from a Utah woman who was there that day.
175 years of pioneer spirit, and tonight, a history that's often overlooked.
She had dark skin and wasn't treated very nicely.
Why one pioneer is inspiring so many.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Imagine you're in your home and a man breaks in with a gallon of gasoline and lights your house on fire with you trapped inside.
That was the horrific reality for a Centerville family today. Police say the homeowners didn't even know the man.
Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser is live at the scene in Centerville right now. Emily.
Bob Kelly, the police chief, is praising his officers for their heroic work today in saving a family held hostage in this home. Now, fire crews are still here making sure that no sparks reignite and travel and spread into these nearby dry hills.
This was an unknown individual to them, a complete stranger who entered their home and burned it down.
A Centerville home is stripped down to nothing but debris, smoke, and ash as firefighters tame the flames that just engulfed the entire home.
It's kind of incomprehensible that this happened.
The Centerville Police Department says a man burst into the home of an older couple carrying a can of gasoline and threatening to burn the place down.
There is a confrontation, a physical confrontation between them where the elderly victims were assaulted, and then a fire was started.
The man barricaded himself inside the fiery home. Officers rushed in, tased him, and were able to get everyone out.
How they rushed in, took care of a combative, aggressive person who was burning down a house with people inside.
Medics rushed 2 of the 3 residents to the hospital with blunt force trauma injuries. 6 officers were treated for smoke inhalation. The suspect was also transported to the hospital.
To be prepared like that, I don't know why you would do that to a stranger's home.
The home's estimated damage is around $1.2 million, and a nearby house also has some minor damage from flames.
Our primary concern was not only the home fire, but the hillside, as you can see. The home sits fairly close to that, and so we did have them put out some spot fires.
Neighbors want to know more, including the man's motive and why this house and this family.
From all the different things that you hear, it sounds like they were lucky to get out.
Officers received reports saying that the man had been spotted in this area earlier, acting erratic and trying to break into cars. Now, they have not released his name. All we know right now is that he's 37 years old and from Salt Lake. Reporting in Centerville, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Emily, thank you. One person is dead and another in critical condition after being hit by a truck in West Bountiful. It happened at about 4 this afternoon when a truck was heading eastbound on 1600 North at 1054 West. West Bountiful police say the truck hit 2 cyclists, a man and a woman.
We don't have any witnesses to the actual collision, so we're still trying to piece everything together and figure out exactly where everybody was at.
Investigators are considering impairment as a possible factor, but say the driver has been cooperating.
Well, you know the routine by now. It kind of feels like Groundhog Day, just day after day, heat, heat, heat. Allison, is there any relief in sight as we head into a holiday weekend?
Heat, 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 and then pop-up thunderstorms every once in a while, right? It's been a rinse and repeat. We are going to have a bit of a drying trend the next few days, but we'll continue with some chances for storms up into the mountains. Right now, it's 95 in Salt Lake as you're getting ready for bed, so it is still warm out there. It's 92 in Ogden right now, 81 for Provo, and 103 in St. St. George right now. Now, we are still tracking a few showers across the region. Right now, just some areas of lighter rain just near Castledale and into southern Utah. We had no flash flood warnings today like we did yesterday. Now, tomorrow morning, 76 in Salt Lake, 72 for Ogden, for Provo, 70 with partly cloudy sky for overnight temperatures. Then tomorrow afternoon, we are heating up and we're going to see a few more chances for widely scattered thunderstorms here across the state. We'll talk more about what you can expect for the holiday weekend coming up.
Thanks, Allison. While the record-breaking temperatures are keeping many of us indoors with the air conditioning blasting, for some of Utah's most vulnerable, there's just no beating the heat.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us how volunteers are helping Salt Lake County's unsheltered this summer.
It's all different kinds of people, and to be honest, it could be any of us. You think it could never happen to you, but it can.
Ellie Tucker and Sean Spalding spent this hot Thursday afternoon handing out water bottles, sandwiches, sunscreen, and socks to Salt Lake City's unsheltered.
We have a lot of homeless on the streets. It seems like every summer it gets hotter and hotter. We're breaking records in July, we're breaking records for the whole summer. So that is a huge issue for us every summer.
Gideon Neiman has been seeking shade anywhere he can.
Very grateful. It's one of those things when people become homeless, it is almost like society punishes you by pushing you to the side. Now, it's nice to have people like the VOA that come around and help the homeless by small gestures like water and food means a lot.
Volunteers of America doesn't just hand out water bottles and sunscreen. They're warning people about the signs of dehydration and heat stroke and how to get help if they need it.
I couldn't imagine what it would be like living in a tent or under a tarp or in your car when it's 100 degrees outside or just super hot. It's unimaginable.
Volunteers of America hoping to relieve some of the struggle that experiencing homelessness brings.
Getting their birth certificate, housing pathways, if they need detox, treatment, we're here to help in any way we can.
Whether it's been 2 weeks or 2 years without a home, Neiman says people like him deserve care and compassion.
The homeless are still human. It's just homelessness is like a bump in the road that just might have tripped someone. And I feel like society, instead of giving a helping hand and help people back on their feet, quick to judge, quick to push to the side, and then people become lost. When you don't get help from people, then you end up being homeless for years.
In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Volunteers of America Utah is always looking for volunteers and donors. Get more information on our website, fox13now.com.
The Utah Domestic Violence Coalition says 1 in 3 Utah women report experiencing some form of domestic violence or sexual abuse. And some Utah shelters say they've seen numbers of reported cases go up in the summer. Shelter workers say this increase can come from a situational change that can trigger stress. In other words, a change in schedule, weather, or environment. Shelters say no matter how busy they get, they will not turn anyone away, and survivors say it is still so important to reach out for help.
Abuse doesn't have to be the thing that defines you. Like you deserve to be happy, and you can find that happiness and get away from those, unhealthy situations and those abusive people.
If you find yourself in need of help, you can reach out to the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition.
The excessive heat is leading to more business for car repair shops. Big O Tires at 300 West and 9th South in downtown Salt Lake City has seen an increase of about 15% in business. Manager Robbie Carter says they are mainly seeing air conditioning and tire issues due to the heat.
If they feel that the AC is blowing cool instead of cold, then that's generally a sign that it needs to have some maintenance done. Most common would be like an evacuate and recharge, and that takes care of probably 90% of the AC concerns.
Which is why Carter is stressing the importance of not only you taking care of your car, but also making sure you get the proper maintenance done to keep it running all summer long in this heat.
As
As we learn more about what former President Trump did during the January 6th Capitol riot, a suspect from Utah makes an appearance in the primetime hearing. We go in depth on this Utah woman's testimony to Congress.
The transmission rates are very high.
State officials and healthcare providers warning about another COVID-19 surge. Their message as we pass a big milestone in the pandemic.
And the Draper Days concert last Saturday night almost didn't happen. We'll show you how Utah's most famous entertainer came to the rescue.
Logan Bonner may be the most experienced quarterback in the country, but Utah State is happy to have him back as their starting quarterback.
In national news tonight, the January 6th Select Committee held another prime-time hearing this evening, focused squarely on what former President Donald Trump was doing during the attack and what his staff members who resigned saw. Lawmakers honed in on the 187-minute window between the end of President Trump's speech to supporters urging the 2020 election be overturned and his tweet then hours later with a video telling protesters to go home.
A Utah woman made an appearance at tonight's hearing. Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle has been following her story since the riot.
He joins us live in studio tonight to explain her role. Nate.
Janet Bueller is a Kaysville resident who attended the Stop the Steal rally on January 6, 2021. Then she entered the Capitol. For that, she pleaded guilty in January of this year to a misdemeanor and was sentenced to 30 days in jail and 36 months probation. We don't know when she testified to the January 6th committee, but most defendants who have talked to the committee have done so after their guilty pleas. Her step-son-in-law, who she referenced in that clip you're about to watch, he's former Salt Lake City Police Detective Michael Lee Harden. He pleaded guilty to the same charge and received 30 days of home confinement as well as 18 months of probation. A clip of Bueller's testimony was played an hour into tonight's hearing. The committee sought to explain how the mob was angry at Vice President Mike Pence for not trying to stop the certification of Joe Biden's election. Let's hear what Bueller said.
This woman comes up to the side of us and she says, Pence folded. So it was kind of like, okay, well, in my mind, I was thinking, well, that's it, you know. Well, my son-in-law looks at me and he says, I want to go in.
So, Nate, you watched tonight's hearing. What did you get out of it? What are the takeaways?
Well, my dad watched the Watergate hearings. He's been watching the January 6th hearings, and he wanted a pizza delivered to the house in time for tonight's hearing. He is tuned into this. A lot of people are. I was struck by the talk of President Trump not honoring his oath to the Constitution. I wonder if that hits home in Utah, where people literally walk around with pocket constitutions.
Yeah, to your point, Nate, there have been a lot of interest in these primetime hearings, the whole case, altogether. Do you think there was any bombshell evidence that was shown tonight? Because that's what I think American people were prepped to see. Did that come to fruition?
I guess that depends on your definition of bombshell. I thought what's interesting is the committee's done a good job of explaining how A led to B, led to C, led to D. You see, this wasn't one sporadic event.
All right. Nate Carlisle, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. The U.S. Senate has unanimously passed Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee's Formula Act. The bill removes import tariffs on baby formula as well as formula products until the end of this year. The House previously modified and passed the bill. Senator Lee says he is grateful for the bipartisan help of his colleagues and that this bill will make baby formula more affordable and more available for American parents.
While passing my bill will provide immediate relief, our work is far from complete. I'm committed to doing everything I can, not only to provide this relief now, but also to make the necessary permanent reforms to our system to ensure that a crisis like this never arises again.
The bill now heads to the president's desk.
Meanwhile, in the House, all 4 of Utah's Congress members voted against a bill that would guarantee the right to access contraception. It codifies a 1965 Supreme Court ruling, meaning the current Supreme Court would not be able to overturn it. The bill passed the House mostly on party lines and now faces an uphill battle in the Senate.
Well, gosh, what a surprise. Maybe you haven't heard about this, but Donny Osmond and his son Chris helped save Draper Days last Saturday night.
That's right. This story came to our attention just a few days ago. Country star Colin Ray was scheduled to headline the Draper Days concert on Saturday night, but he called 2 days before, said he couldn't come because he had COVID-19. So guess who came to the rescue? Donnie's son Chris was set to be Colin Ray's warm-up act. A backup headliner was asked to fill in for Colin Ray, and Chris Osmond was asked to expand his warm-up act. And so, at the last minute, with the help of his famous father, he did. But there were some serious challenges.
Having my dad there was kind of a saving grace, honestly, because he's got 60 years of doing this and running into problems.
Anything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Oh, it did.
The heat was just so high. We were having equipment failure. Monitor consoles were going down. Everything was going down. But it was like, it was perfect training for Chris because it was a 401 class, college 401.
Oh, I know. You throw me in the fire.
Threw you in the fire. And you know what he did? He did a show, and everybody loved it.
They sure did. They also sang Puppy Love and several other newer tunes from Donnie's newest album. But it was quite a treat for Chris and Donnie to get to perform together. And of course, the crowd was very enthusiastic. By the way, Chris has a new single coming out on Monday. Be watching his social media channels for that and more.
I was going to say a treat for them to perform together, but imagine the Draper Days crowd, the audience there. What a surprise.
Yeah, we didn't pay for this.
They
Wow.
are so cute together.
They
Chris,
are.
I'm going to look for your single coming out. But, you know, the two of you, a duo, taking on the road.
Chris wants to go on the road. Of course, his famous dad is all tied up
I
in
know,
Las
Donnie, you're
Vegas
busy right now. That was fun. That was cool. You got to talk to him.
Well, thank you for tipping me off.
You're very welcome. All right, Allison, can you imagine performing out in the heat?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's still hot out there right now across the state. Our sun has gone down, but it's still 95 degrees here in Salt Lake City. St. George still in the triple digits right now. So we have heat warnings for lower Washington County through tomorrow and over towards Lake Powell through Saturday. We have heat advisories for western Utah and eastern Utah. So if you're headed down to Moab for the holiday weekend, make sure that you are getting out early for any of your fun activities that you have planned as you head into Pioneer Day weekend. Here across the state right now, a few scattered showers near Castledale, moving through Highway 6 down through Price. But mainly here across the state, heat's the main concern for immediate future for tomorrow, and then we will have the chance for a few thunderstorms, but we're really not expecting anything too problematic as we head into the next few days, as we're going to see a little bit of a drying trend here across Utah. But we will have that chance for some thunderstorms mainly north of about Kane County tomorrow. Now tomorrow morning here in Salt Lake City, upper 70s, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., into the mid 80s at 9 a.m. So it's hot even during the morning hours. If you're planning on doing any road tripping for the holiday weekend, we could see some isolated thunderstorms that would lead to the off chance of some flooding concerns, because we're still seeing some more of this monsoonal moisture. More on that coming up in just a little bit. It's going to be a very hot weekend. Pack plenty of water. And also with our air quality, consolidate trips if you can. It's going to be unhealthy for sensitive groups here the next couple of days. Overnight temps Friday at 6 a.m. 60 to about 75 degrees for many of you tomorrow morning. Little breezy at times tomorrow, about 15 to 20 miles per hour. But we're going to end up, this is Friday afternoon at 5 p.m., with our temperatures just really ramping up tomorrow. It'll be around 100 degrees for Eagle Mountain, Tooele, Salt Lake, Ogden, Provo. St. George, just about 110 tomorrow, if not a little bit higher. So into tomorrow, we'll still continue with that chance for a few thunderstorms. This is Friday at 3 p.m. Best chance for these storms to develop will be up into the mountains. Into Saturday, we've got a little bit less of a chance. And then by Sunday, we'll start seeing some more of those monsoon storms really ramping up again. So for Ogden, your chance for rain the next couple of days. Isolated tomorrow, Friday night. Lower chances Saturday night and Sunday. Provo, a little bit of a better chance, but still not a fantastic chance. Isolated Friday night, Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday. And for St. George, your chance of precipitation isolated Friday night, and a little bit of a better chance Sunday into next week. In fact, you'll see a little bit of a cool down for St. George by next Monday. It's still going to be hot, mid-90s, but it'll be a little cooler, close to 110 Friday. Saturday here in Salt Lake, near 100 degrees for your entire 7-day forecast. We'll break all this down for you on what you can expect for the holiday weekend coming up.
All right, thank you, Allison. Just ahead, we're learning of the first case of polio in America in nearly a decade. What health officials are revealing tonight.
And do you hate getting annoying robocalls? Maybe it seems like every day you're receiving them. Well, now the FCC is doing something about it. Details on their crackdown when we come back. We do have breaking news to share just into the Fox 13 newsroom. The Summit County Sheriff's Office right now and the Utah State Parks, they're looking for a person who they believe may have drowned at Rockport State Park. Search and rescue crews and Life Flight are looking for a 39-year-old Salt Lake County man who was paddle boarding without a life jacket on. He did have a dog with him who made it to the shore. After about 2 hours of searching, the man still has not been found. We will keep you updated on this story as we learn more.
Health officials in New York have diagnosed the first case of polio in the United States in nearly a decade. Polio was once a common infection in the U.S. and around the world, but successful vaccination campaigns dramatically reduced the number of cases. Officials say an unvaccinated young adult was suffering from weakness and paralysis, which led to the diagnosis. Officials do not know how the person contracted it. They have not traveled outside of the country. Authorities are investigating the origins of the infection.
All right, dare I say this is everyone. If you've ever received a robocall saying we've been trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty, yeah, you know the routine. You are certainly not alone.
Click.
The FCC said today U.S. telecom providers will be required to block millions of those robocalls each and every day.
Thank you.
Most of those calls are considered illegal under U.S. law. Robocalls about extended car warranties, they have been the #1 consumer complaint to the FCC for the past 2 years now. The FCC said telecom companies that continue to allow the illegal calls could face penalties.
A grim milestone for Utah in the COVID-19 pandemic. Plus, a warning tonight as a new surge threatens the state.
Diversity among Utah's pioneers, that's sometimes forgotten in history.
The Utah story isn't complete unless everyone is represented.
Tonight, one pioneer's inspiring story nearly 2 centuries later.
Tony Finau played well in the first round of the PGA Tour event this week. Plus, we'll get you ready for the Utah Women's State Amateur Championship.
Today, the state of Utah passed the 1 million mark of confirmed COVID-19 cases.
But it may not be a true count given how many people are taking at-home tests. And state officials and healthcare workers are warning people to now be aware of a surge in the COVID-19 BA.5 variant.
Intermountain Healthcare says the Omicron variant is increasing in the Beehive State. 7 counties are listed as areas of high transmission, and across the nation, cases are rising. And this strain is especially transmissible. They have concerns about the impact on hospitals and healthcare systems, and they want people to take a serious look at the pandemic again.
At this point, we really have to look to ourselves and say, what is my risk of getting COVID? What is the risk of me transmitting to high-risk individuals? And what's that impact going to be on my life?
On a state level, don't expect to see mask mandates return. The legislature last year limited some of the power of those kinds of health orders.
Here's a closer look at the numbers now. Nearly 6,900 Utahns tested positive over the past week. That's actually about a 12% decrease from the week prior. New hospitalizations are also down 24% from last week. 15 more Utahns died from the virus.
Hey folks, guess you heard this morning I tested positive for COVID.
President Biden says he's now doing well after testing positive for COVID-19. He made that announcement today. The White House adds he has mild symptoms. The president is fully vaccinated. He has received also 2 booster shots to help reduce the severity of the virus. The 79-year-old president was given an antiviral drug called Paxlovid. Biden says his work has not been impacted while he continues to isolate.
Beginning tomorrow, it will be legal again to light fireworks in Utah, but many restrictions are in place because of a high wildfire risk. Governor Spencer Cox joined us on Fox 13 News Live at 5 this afternoon, imploring everyone to be safe this Pioneer Day weekend.
Well, we're hoping that this celebration will be different, and that's why we're asking people to be much more careful with their firework usage. And in fact, we've decided as a family we're not going to light any fireworks this year. We're going to see the professional shows. They're amazing. We just don't want to take any chances. It's so hot right now, so dry right now. We've had some monsoonal moisture, but the chance of fire is very, very high, and we want people to have a happy 24th of July.
Governor wants to remind everyone that fireworks are restricted on any state or federal land right now. He asks that if you do plan to light fireworks, to be extra careful and use all safety practices.
Bob, here's a look at the latest firework restrictions right now in the Cottonwood Heights area. The area is shaded in red or places where you are not allowed to light fireworks this weekend. That includes the eastern bench of the city and other pockets of places around Cottonwood Heights. Big part of the city there. City Council passed a resolution to put these restrictions in place. But after the 4th of July holiday, residents came forward and asked for even more places to be added to the list. So the council expanded the map.
So we have fireworks coming up on the 24th. We have 4 days that we can light off fireworks legally. So that poses a threat to us. So we needed to be able to identify those areas that are hazard areas for us. And so those are the restricted areas, those areas that are easily available to burn, that could potentially be explosive and carry some wildfire with it.
Unified Fire Authority makes recommendations to the municipalities about which parts are not safe to light fireworks, and City Council ultimately decides what that restricted map will look like.
If you live in a wildfire-prone area, a new study says you should not have wood shingles on your house. The Western U.S. think tank Headwaters Economics released a new report about the problem. They say data is unavailable for much of the U.S., including from most counties in Utah. But even the limited information available shows more than 1 million such homes in the country, including more than 5,000 in Utah. The author of the study told Fox 13 News the biggest danger from wildfires comes from the sky.
Actually, embers that fly miles ahead of a wildfire. And so it's these tiny little matchsticks. And so if they land on that vulnerable surface area, like a roof, then they can lead to the ignition of the home. Once one home starts burning, multiple homes are equally susceptible.
Headwaters Economics says the cost of replacing the roofs in their study would top $6 billion. They recommend helping homeowners with government incentives.
If gas prices have you scaling back your vacation, there may be some Utah towns worth rediscovering, all thanks to some Utah Main Street grants. Helper was left behind when mines in the area shut down, but they reinvented the town for tourists and artists. Go Utah grants helped shape up Main Street, and at least 5 Brigham City storefronts got a redo from the grants. You might not recognize either town with all the new shops and all the sprucing up.
Just looks like a different place than when we came here. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful community, and people tell us all the time how beautiful Brigham City is.
Well, that's a nice compliment.
Isn't that great?
Restaurants, Airbnbs, and shops are popping up as well in Eureka. The mayor there looking into the grant programs to fix up their Main Street for tourists.
A youth program leads to a new place to call home for Utahns experiencing homelessness. We'll show you.
And kids in West Valley City are taking to the field with the city police department. Details on this unique training camp. Welcome back, everyone. A house built by Ogden Weber Technical College's Youth Build program will be used for Utahns experiencing homelessness. The program donated the house to the Other Side Village. That's a multi-phase housing program meant to provide permanent housing to people coming out of chronic homelessness. The college's president says the students in the program, they range in age from 16 to 24, and they're often at risk themselves. He says this was an opportunity for them to give back to their own community and hopefully prepare them for a successful career in the future.
West Valley City children and police took to the field together today in their first ever athletic training youth camp. Members of the Community-Oriented Policing Unit hosted the event where children learned what it takes to have fun and be safe on the field. The participants and their families were also given food and drink while they were outside on this hot summer day. Well, this weekend is the 15th anniversary of the Speed Goat races at Snowbird.
And we're not talking about fast mountain goats here by any means. No, hundreds of runners, they're participating in this World Series event. It will take place tomorrow as well as Saturday. Organizers say this is one of the toughest 50 Ks in the world.
What?
That's 50, Bob. 50 Ks. Can you imagine?
My goodness.
Yeah.
And they don't even look anything like goats.
No, they look like finely tuned specimens there. They say that we'll be able to see some of the world's most talented mountain runners.
Well, it's special, I think, because it's hard. When we started this race 15 years ago, my goal was to make it hard physically, but also hard mentally. So there's some areas on the course where you think you're going across a flat traverse, but then we turn uphill and go straight up a mountain.
Wow, this is impressive. Tomorrow will be the 11K and 28K races. Saturday is the 50K. All races start at 6:30 a.m.
My guess is they won't have any goats following them.
Oh my gosh.
Not even the goats will go there. Well, still ahead, we go in depth on Utah's pioneers of color as we celebrate 175 years after settlers arrived in the Beehive States.
And if you're doing any hiking or walking this weekend, stay safe. We have heat warnings for southern Utah, heat advisories for western and eastern Utah. I'll have your forecast coming up.
Coming up in sports, Utah State head coach Blake Anderson will tell us why he's so excited about the Aggies quarterback room. And the field is stacked for the Utah Women's State Amateur Championship. We'll hear from some of the former champions before the big event.
Our special celebration of 175 years of Utah's pioneer spirit ahead of Pioneer Day continues tonight. History has recorded the Latter-day Saints who settled here in the 1800s.
But what has often been overlooked are the pioneers of color who made that trek. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph shares one pioneer's story and how it's inspiring descendants nearly 2 centuries later.
The influence of the Saints on the state of Utah, you can't miss it.
These are people who were basically erased from public perception.
As you look through the few pictures of early pioneers, while they are often forgotten, those faces of pioneers of color emerge with incredible stories.
My great-great-great-grandmother, Elizabeth Xavier Tate, was from India.
This is Cade Wilbur, one of the many Utahns who can trace their heritage back to a pioneer of color.
She met her husband, William, when he was a member of the East India Company and was a member of the church. And her family threatened to disown her and disinherit her if she joined the church, which she did, and they did.
Coming from India after giving birth to their child, she started her journey to rejoin her husband, William, in Utah.
And sailed from England with the Saints there to America, traveled by train to Iowa, and there the baby died.
Heartbroken and determined to go on, she joined the Willie Handcart Company. History records they left late in the season and faced incredible hardship. She became stranded with the company without any other family.
Everyone told them not to, but they came. Being from India, she had dark skin and wasn't treated very nicely by the people in the company, but she worked and pulled the handcart just as hard as everyone else did. You know, being of color and coming from that part of civilization, that's probably why she was treated poorly.
But she wasn't alone as a trailblazer.
These are people who are racially marginalized in the United States who are joining a suspect religious group, so twice marginalized.
Paul Reeve is one of the foremost authorities on pioneers of color, starting the Century of Black Mormon database, recording every one of those early pioneers that were black.
Most people aren't aware that 2 days ahead of Brigham Young, on July 22nd, 1847, 3 black enslaved men arrived in the valley as a part of the advance party: Green Flake, Oscar Smith, and Hark Wells. Later in the same year, free black Latter-day Saints also arrived in the Salt Lake Valley. Jane Manning James and her husband Isaac and their children.
Those early pioneers were often revered.
Green Flake, for example, one of those 3 black enslaved men, was mentioned in newspaper accounts throughout the 19th century. Jane Manning James also commemorated throughout her life as an original 47 pioneer. So they received venerated positions because they were amongst the original 1847 pioneers into the valley.
And while history has forgotten some of these faces, Cade Wilbur has not forgotten his ancestor. Despite the hardships she faced, Elizabeth Xavier Tate made it through.
She just kept looking at all the riders for that red Irish hair. And once she saw him, she knew that everything was going to be okay.
Eventually making their way to Cedar City. Having 10 kids in total, she became a school teacher and a seamstress.
She became part of the community and was accepted no matter what her skin color was.
And that's where all the generations of her ancestors that have followed have remained.
And I'm grateful for my pioneer heritage. The communities are still there because people have a tie through their families and their ancestors.
So as history rediscovers the past,
the Utah story isn't complete unless everyone is represented.
It's because of families like Elizabeth's that have kept that history alive as an inspiration for the future.
I know that because she and they did hard things, I can do hard things. And if you ever think you can't, just go back and look at what your ancestors did. And their blood runs through your veins. So it's already there in your DNA. You can do anything.
That was Spencer Joseph reporting. Tomorrow, there will be a dedication of a new monument at This Is the Place Heritage Park, honoring African-American pioneers who played a pivotal role along the way. We will have coverage of that ceremony tomorrow on Fox 13 News.
And don't forget, this Sunday night at 9:30 on Pioneer Day, Fox 13 News will air a 30-minute special report sponsored by Lee's Marketplace. Join us for more inspiring stories of the pioneer spirit, just like you witnessed here tonight. You don't want to miss it.
Well, speaking of Pioneer Day, I think we have some fireworks happening downtown right now, probably for Pioneer Day. You can see that on the right side of your screen right now. This would be on the north end of Salt Lake City downtown. This camera is a view from the Natural History Museum facing out west. Bob, where do you think that is?
Well, I think they're celebrating your weather forecast.
Hey,
Allison Krogan's on TV. Light the fireworks.
No. That looks like a professional show.
Oh, for sure. It's been going on. I've been watching for the last few
Could it
minutes.
be the Bee Stadium? I'm turned around.
No,
no, it's not.
No, you can see where Walker Center Tower is. I'm like turned around because I'm on the green screen right now. Here's the Walker Center Tower. So this would be, I think, on like the north end of the city. Anyway, I have lots to talk about in the forecast, so we'll go ahead and we'll get to that. I got distracted. 95 here in Salt Lake. It was a hot day. We made it to 102 here in Salt Lake. It was our 11th time this month in triple digits and our 14th time this year. So hot temperatures out across the state. We still have a few showers out there, very isolated. Had a couple of rainbows down in Ephraim, Gunnison tonight. But hour by hour into tomorrow morning, about 70 to 80 when you first wake up. Highs tomorrow, again, triple digits with some more chances for some thunderstorms across the state. Rain projection over the next 7 days. We're going to see our best chance for our heaviest rain into south central and southwest Utah. Flash flooding potential for tomorrow is not expected in our recreation areas except for Capitol Reef. There is a possible rating for tomorrow. St. George 111, you have heat warnings through Friday for the Lake Powell area. If you're headed there for the Pioneer Day weekend, we've got heat warnings through Saturday. Close to 110 in St. George on Saturday, 102 for Pioneer Day. Better chances for showers and thunderstorms Sunday into next week. Here along the Wasatch Front, air quality Friday, Saturday, orange, unhealthy for sensitive groups. Sunday, 97, Monday, 97 here in Salt Lake City. And our chance of precipitation the next few days, Friday at 5 p.m., best chance for a few thunderstorms to develop, mainly in the mountains. Saturday, same thing. Sunday, same thing. So we're going to have still some more chances for those monsoon storms, but it looks like the bulk of the heaviest rain will stay to our south and east, but we will have that potential for some stronger storms. We're hot through your entire 7-day forecast, and we're hot through next week also.
The Mountain West Conference Media Days wrapped up in Las Vegas. Now Utah State set to open up fall camp to get ready for their season opener at home against UConn on August 27th. Utah State has to have the most experienced quarterback in the country with Logan Bonner. With COVID and injuries, this will be his 7th season of college football and his 2nd with the Aggies after setting 5 single-season school records last season, leading the Aggies to the Mountain West Championship. He injured his knee in the bowl game, but former Orem Tiger Cooper Laga stepped in and led the Aggies to a win. So the Aggies feel really good about their quarterback situation.
I expect Logan to be completely healthy week 1, and I expect him to be our starting quarterback. But there's a tremendous amount of comfort knowing that Cooper can perform on a big stage. Levi Williams comes in from Wyoming, was the MVP of their bowl game. We feel really good about the quarterback room, but it's Logan's room. Year 7, he's a grown man, and he knows the system well and played his best football at the end of the season. Hopefully he picks up where he left off, and we've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
The 116th Utah Women's State Amateur Championship is set for the first 4 days in August at the Ogden Golf and Country Club. Be a very talented field with 4-time champion Kelsey Chugg we saw there, and 2 players that were in the final last year, Berlin Long and Lila Galiai. Long almost won the tournament last year. If this shot went in, she would have been the champion. But it lipped out, and Galiai won it on the first extra hole. They were both back and ready for another great tournament.
It kind of just makes me want it more, right? Like, shows you like this is how fun of a tournament it is, and just like the whole like week-long match play, it definitely is. Feels a little bit more important and better.
Is like one of the trophies you'd like to.
Yeah, I want my name on that one. Yep.
You know, it'll be my first time playing here in a tournament, and the course looks good. I'm excited to come here. I mean, the field's really good this year. I mean, it's always good every year, but just excited to be out here and to compete with some really good girls.
It's one I take very seriously. Not that I don't take others, but this one I take seriously. It's my favorite event that I play in, even out of national events. Just kind of has a special meaning to me.
2006 Utah State Amateur champion Tony Finau playing this week on the PGA Tour at the 3M Open in Minnesota. How about this approach shot? Lands it past the hole, then spins it back to the stick. That led to a birdie. Then he rolled in a nice birdie putt here on the 9th hole. Shot a 67. He's tied for 3rd at 4 under par, 2 shots off the lead. We'll be right back.
Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
QuickCast is up next.